점도 사준다. 네, 무슨 점이요?
Namo Gurave Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurave Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurave Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Ma samanye men shiro baro shi ma ye ma gai nam ge ma ni so so ra re ye je je ye wa te so ya ve yo Shazaro Deyada Gade Gade Parai Gade Parai Sairayate Mohode Soha Deyada Gade Gade Parai Gade Parai Sairayate Mohode Soha Deyata Gade Gade Parai Gade Parai Sairayate Mohode Soha.
Gari Dondra Jiki Yamada Mithine Vijana Dawat
Tebadu Yebedo Doyone Daye Deya Dede Jo Sa Ye Beye Shoje Medo Chama Riro Nije Nye Gembo Sanye Jendo Mede Vewa Ye Ndokwe Nanda Shen Sheva Jo Yedan Guru Rana Mandela Niyana Ya Me
Sanganje
Sheda Zoje Shona Lai Chajo Bando Dane Shabso Dagi Chujo Jibe Sona Je Dola Benje Sanje Dobo Sho
Sanganje
Sheda Zoje Shona Lai Chajo Bando Dane Shabso Dagi Chujo Jibe Sona Dola Benje Sanje Dobo Sho
Sanganje
Cheda Zoje Shona Lai Chajo Bando Dane Shabso Dagi Chujo Jibe Sona Dola Benje Sanje Dobo Sho
我现在给他的那个事业他一起端着， 보자라나 당연하다 보죠. 선지 공부를 뭐 이제는 더 버샤고. 그래도 쉐 쉐도 안배 최를 뭐 세냐 배고는 선지 셈지 세 셈배고는 셈버죠.
Let us cultivate the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of liberating infinite, kind, mother sentient beings. With that kind of bodhicitta motivation, that we should all participate in this teaching.
No. That Nandro Lachang Goni Shinta Tanda Padu, that drink by the Padre, and it sure they any calling you to who here.
I started this teaching on liberation in the palm of your hand, Lam Rim, that's the Stages of Path Enlightenment treatise, explaining to you the origin or the source of this teaching. And I explained rather very extensively how to cultivate proper motivation. As it is explained in this Lam Rim text, we should personally reflect upon the ways to cultivate proper motivation. Why is there so much emphasis on cultivating proper motivation? Is because whether we began a spiritual teaching such as this one, it is not only very important but essential as well to cultivate proper motivation, and then also to do meditation or meditation practice. Again, is very important, essential for us to cultivate proper motivation. So for those reasons, we find an extensive explanation in this Lam Rim text on cultivating proper motivation and different types of motivation. And then also in the beginning, more in the beginning of this Lam Rim text, there is explanation of what kind of qualities or qualifications that a spiritual teacher should have, and what kind of qualifications that a student or disciple should have. So we already talked about the qualifications of both a spiritual teacher and a spiritual student. And it has also been emphasized that it's not just enough to engage in anything that is simply called spiritual or dharma. What is really important is for us to, find a pure and authentic spirituality or dharma and engage in it.
아니 들릴래 다예요 말레스 가리에서나 아니 최다 남바 산지비 최신 곳에 아니 산지 좀 되들 두고 있다는 게 그걸 가능성이
So when we talk about authentic and pure spiritual teaching, of course, in this particular case, we are talking about Buddha Dharma or Buddha's teaching, and so it has really, not so much to do with how famous a speaker or a teacher is, and so forth. But it's rather we have to find out the authentic source of teaching, and in the case of Buddhism, we find the authentic source of the teaching in the Shakyamuni Buddha.
And that can come back here to Sungashi. And then a job that some Jayanta, the Lana Yulu Yasishi, Tenzuka, and any job windows of the Tanganke, and the Lana very condition in the church in Yamsa Lani, only to be compound term of thinking that the Nicky Mambuchi, so the Yobachi, that's naked, that church, Nabatabachi, Marazon Yamsa language is
The point I'm trying to make here is this, that when it comes to Buddhism or Buddha Dharma, the authenticity and the purity of the teaching has to be established on the basis of a number of things. And first and foremost is that it should have originated with Shakyamuni Buddha, because he is the founding master or the teacher of Buddhism. And then that his teaching has been elucidated and put into practice by many illustrious spiritual teachers, and who gained these high realizations, cultivating Buddha's teaching. And in this regard, we find countless great masters both in India and Tibet. That in India, the Buddha's teaching has been passed down also through, through, say, Maitreya, or through Manjushri, through great masters such as Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Deva and other disciples of Nagarjuna, and so many other great Indian masters. So they put Buddha's teaching into practice. They internalized Buddha's teaching and gained very high realizations. And the same thing happened with many great Tibetan masters.
아니 주삽 간데 주사보인스 간데 세네야 다 되는 되게 아니 세네야 아니 다 장주를 하지만 람지르만 나기겠다 가보래 제 zon자 냐네야고 셰 тө상야고 셰스 가능성이
Lam Rim, which simply means stages of path, and which is a genre in Tibetan Buddhism, it presents the complete structure of the path, and also captures, if you will, the essence of Buddha's teachings. And so Lam Rim is very unique in the sense that it is a practice guide, and it not only incorporates all the essential points of Buddha's teachings, but also teaches us, if you will, how to put them into practice. As we have seen over and again in the Lam Rim, that we need to put Lam Rim into practice. categorically stated that in Buddhism we talk about three spiritual goals, or we call the three types of liberation or enlightenment. The Tibetan word that's being used is called bodhi, which is enlightenment. And the three types of enlightenment are enlightenment of hearers or shirvakas, and enlightenment of solitary realizers or patika Buddhas, and then enlightenment of bodhisattvas. Now, whichever enlightenment we choose personally as our spiritual destination or goal, by following the Lam Rim teaching and the paths provided by the Lam Rims and cultivating them, we will be able to actualize any of those goals of enlightenment. In the day 2 Lam Rim teachings, we find it stated, as Geshe quoted the stanza, which basically states that Lam Rim essentializes Buddha's teachings. It has been highly praised by enlightened beings, and it's the path for the fortunate ones, and so on. So you have the Lam Rim text there, and you know what the exact lines are. I'm just roughly translating here on the spot. And so what does it really mean that Lam Rim essentializes Buddha's teachings, or it incorporates the essential points of Buddha's teachings? Is this, that based upon Lam Rim, that one could cultivate aversion to or renunciation with regard to rebirth in the three bad migrations. And that is related with initial level practice or small scope practice, kibuchung in Tibetan. Based upon Lam Rim teaching, one could also renounce samsara or secular existence, or cultivate aversion to samsaric existence, and that is related with the practice of intermediate level practitioners or the middle scope practice.
Jasi tamba na jingmal pe lam ane shanju sen rumbuche tang ane ya thande ji show nam chis yungwa je tha da tawasta tawa de tawe je en lam jirin bi tichun de tawa lama te na len jong ma res shanju sen tang ta onye to bi khir pinyi bo ta lam ren ma te na te ni khia ka res lam se tang yang de le ta ali tisum.
So without relying upon practice guides such as Lam Rim, it is rather very difficult, if not impossible, to cultivate those different types of aversion. And without practice guides such as the Lam Rim, relying upon it, it would be very difficult, if not at all impossible, to cultivate bodhicitta, bodhisattva's attitude, altruism, and the wisdom realizing emptiness, the ultimate nature of phenomena. And so in that particular stanza we just quoted earlier, the Lam Rim is highly praised by bodhisattvas, or the children of Buddhas. By that, what it really means to say is that Lam Rim teaches us how to cultivate bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness. So without relying upon Lam Rim, it will be difficult to cultivate those paths.
Kandi Sanje Toba last, Sanje Moga Toba la, Lanju Zo te sum jula shegwes, Shachi Shegoshe. That te sum se, Lanju Zo number sumbute, Jula Shewala, Dan Laron Tenko res. And
the bottom line is this: in order to reach complete enlightened state or to become Buddhas, it is essential to cultivate what is known as the three principal paths: renunciation, Ngenjung, bodhicitta, Changzhu, and the wisdom realizing emptiness, the view of emptiness, Tongyi Jitawa. So we need to cultivate these three principal paths in order to become a Buddha, and without a practice guide such as the Lam Rim, relying upon it, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to cultivate those paths in our mind.
No remember the Sanjama, then took Landu Towers, Landu Towers. Sanjik Sumbe, Hessian daughter. Only a Dodi Mambo, you are set to some Landu Tower children.
So, as we talk about the importance of Lam Rim, which is the Tibetan term meaning stages of the path or graduated path, we must not confine ourselves simply to, okay, so that means, the Lam Rim teaching, given by great Indian Master Atisha, or maybe the Lam Rim teaching by Lama Tsongkhapa, and so on. But we also need to really bring to our mind that under this generic term, if you will, Lam Rim, stages of the path, we should also be thinking about what Buddha has taught originally, especially what he has taught in what we call the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, Pranjana Paramita Sutras, right? There are the long and the medium and the small versions, short versions of Pranjana Paramita Sutras, which Wisdom Gone Beyond Sutras. As a matter of fact, those teachings of Buddha are the source, if you will, are the source materials of Lam Rim.
Ani tindega ani ta Lam Rim cheche de bakarasana, ani cheche karasana. Cutting the shavers, and then go at them, and the shaver, Sanji the sad drippy, Tiba Chulus, the Hudson Chulus and my bay, and then cutting the shaver, Sanji the sad dropper ship, and then Tiba Choker. I thought you think what can on the young secretary.
Based upon Lam Rim, one could understand that. One meaning fortunate disciples, Kalden, fortunate disciples could understand that what is, in other words, the spiritual Mahayana system, Mahayana spiritual system, what's the spiritual Mahayana system that could lead an individual person to complete enlightened state. So Lam Rim provides that kind of understanding.
Not about you, Chulus. Hinda Kimbo Ludu, the Tommy Niche Lam Source. Nay, Hinda Kimbo Ludu Tommy, Jawa Rani, Sanji County, the Rani Long Tembe. Hinda Kimbo Tegars, and the Hinda dress like a langa the Jack Kimbo the Garseta, Kandi and the Hinda Rujani, Tawam and Rotriachica, Langatini, you then Nanika. Sanji County, they soon the any Lulu the Tommy Nipe, Hinda Rosaka Langano is in the paying around, and how much of the yes, you will lay how you Tony, you can Zena, just so that Hinda Kimbo Lulu Tommy. Each lamb source, coin but the only lamb source. Lamb source, Sanji County, they soon be that lamb the new salt, Konani can do salt, so they were not getting that.
Based upon Lam Rim, we could also, again, understanding of the system of Buddha's teaching illustrated by the two great pioneers, Of course, the English word literally means, charioteers, the ones who runs the chariots, but of course in English it doesn't make much sense here. So, how does the example work out is, in order for a chariot to really run smoothly, then the road system must be very wide and, comfortable. So then the chariot would run really well on that. In that kind of a sense that the two great pioneers of Buddha's teaching created almost like, metaphorically speaking, a highway system or a freeway systems, based upon Buddha's teaching, so that everybody can very smoothly, drive through on it. So based upon Lam Rim, we could understand better how the two great pioneers have elucidated the system of Buddha's teachings.
So that calling Buddha number that Kinda Kimolo Tomenishi and the sort tepe that till lam till any Tiba Chimbikaza, that Tiba Kim Kanda Kigine at any Saji Komba Dreata, Lil Habit Tonita, the Twajikudan losing Mandusin, Sanji Sumba, Sebasikan at this curious.
The two great pioneers are Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Asanga, these two great Indian masters, who have very clearly elucidated the system of Buddha's teachings to the extent that it is, relatively speaking, easy for practitioners to follow Buddha's teaching and thereby accomplish complete enlightened state.
That the Tolan, Belnyame is Belnyame, Joe Chimbo Tangs, Belnyame Joe Chimbota, the Joy Badadishe, Joe Chimbo Tangs. Constitute Jabu Zonga Chimbi, Luke, Tuche, Jushua Tabi Damba Samos, Kona Banika, Red, Yame Joe Jeta, and the treasure of Zonga Chimbo Damanish, and took a Jushua Tabi, Songa Nani Peta, we need to pay duty. He could have it. Any insult, singular.
And Lam Rim also is characterized by this unique quality of, the essence of the teachings of great Atisha and Lama Tsongkhapa are provided or captured in Lam Rim. So by essence we mean like a nectar-like essence. If nectar is that distilled essence liquid, so in the same way, the essence of Lama Tsongkhapa and Atisha's teachings are captured in Lam Rim.
No. That Sanji Kambi de Sumbi Church Congo Jeti Getombo, Jeti Getombo, and Sanji Dubats Maze, the Zonet Tower, Sun Dubats Maze, and then Church Congo Jeti Getonga and the Georgia and so Kansaki Sanjave, and they Lam Jeremba to Digny, and that Lam to stand about this.
So as I said earlier, that Lam Rim brings together all the essential points of Buddha's teachings, which could be extensively classified into 84,000 discourses. So the essence of the 84,000 discourses of Buddha are, captured in the Lam Rim. Not only it captures the essence of Buddha's teachings, but it presents very uniquely in a way that an individual practitioner can put, Buddha's teachings into practice and realize complete enlightenment.
No, but the question. That's Sanju Lam Jerimbe, Yamti, do this Chapalas, that Conga, this is a Ponga. Sanju Lam Jerimbe, that tea and Dordini, and those to check against that.
And so with that, the great Tibetan master Gyaltsen Pabongpa Dorjee, the author of Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, Lam Rim, tells his audience that such are the the unique qualities of Lam Rim teaching, and now I'm going to give a brief teaching on Lam Rim based upon experiences.
Those Masons are Laro and Nason Zane, Sake yoras, sake. Sake the kitchen is coming. Sake the never coming.
Lam Rim is presented under very structured outlines. You know, there are outlines of Lam Rim, and so it's very important to follow the outlines as we follow Lam Rim teaching.
Sake the kitchen carresana, Sake the never in a tea tony, and gom jedis and anime susu tool, Yikashi, Sake the little never in a. Yes. If
we remember Lam Rim outlines, that would be of a great help in the sense that when we do meditation on Lam Rim, then it becomes really easy for us to reflect upon Lam Rim teaching. It will be really easy to bring Lam Rim teaching into our mind if we have the outlines of Lam Rim, in our mind. So that will help us to, meditate on the Lam Rim concepts and understand the meanings of Lam Rim.
That's Shibu Susi do Gomjisani, Shibu Chungutan drink the Chimbu conditioning into to some Tambi in a the Sakete, never seen tea, Tony, and Saketi Yani, and the Mugiti and the any lunch cornte, cornta, mod heavy.
No. Lam Rim deals with three types of practitioners: initial level practitioner, intermediate level practitioner, and advanced level practitioner, or they are simply put as small, middle, and advanced scope, great scope practitioners. And so relating to each practitioner and his or her practice, we find relevant Lam Rim outlines. So if we could have those outlines in the mind, then we are able to really bring a particular practice into those outlines, and we will be able to understand what comes first and what next. So there is a really very neat structure of what to do, what practice first and what follows next. So when we do meditation, it's really important for us to have this clear structure of what we are going to meditate, right? What should we meditate first, and what are the points related with that particular point, and what's the next key point, and what is related with that point. So we should have that clear structure of the path, to be able to do a good meditation. And Lam Rim helps us to do that, organize ideas and the paths, in our mind and follow them. So with Lam Rim outlines, we are able to, we should be able to, bring all other related points together. We say, okay, this is a particular outline here I'm dealing with, and there are these other sub-points or the related points going with that. And so as we do meditation, we are able to do a complete, if you will, reflection or meditation on a particular on a particular Lam Rim outline. We will, see later that, for example, I'm just giving an example to illustrate my point. Say we are going to meditate on impermanence, mitaba. So now the meditation impermanence is presented under several outlines, and there is what we call the three root, points, or the three principal points. And each point is supported by 3 reasons. So we talk about 9 reasons. So if we have the 3 key points, each supported by 3 reasons, so we have those 9, 3 and 9 points. Then when we do meditation on impermanence, we are able to capture our meditation in those points, and we do a complete meditation on impermanence.
That is Saki the Tanjo Nyeka, Tanjo Nyeka, Tencha, then some. This and that thing on a time, the was when Tawa Jet and Java Joseph, that thing living quarters.
No.
Get those in a Keko, Staya Saki the Levin, a tea toilet, tea, not tea, non silica, living. That in those in Gomjis and Rabat Dings and the Love Changers.
Let me give another example. If we are going to meditate on precious human life, or human rebirth, we deal with certain key points, such as how difficult it is, how rare and difficult it is to find a precious human life, okay, and how greatly meaningful is such a life. So these are different key points. So under these key points, now when we're dealing with precious human life, then we go through the sub-related points, the related points which are the sub-points, such as the 8 freedoms or leisures, Dorjee, the 10 enriching factors or the endowments, you see. So those are related points of this particular meditation topic. So when we meditate on that, so we should be able to have all those things in our mind so that we can reflect on them. So those are just some examples I'm giving to illustrate my point.
Ane tamju songje ga nam tamju yorba ta den ko ya ke tamju yorba tamju ne jin do samshi ta den se tamju se ai menga de yu jins ta la me menga yang yun ni ma se ba de la me menga ran se ne de yu samshi ta den chama lo de se ne nge ba se ni ani gom gres kana ge.
So it's advised that we should have the Lam Rim outlines such in our mind. And so when we say Lam Rim outline, there are the key outlines, and then there is the secondary outlines or the sub-points, right? So that when we're dealing with a particular meditation topic, so what are the key points here, Lam Rim? And what are the sub-points, supporting these key points, or go with these key points? So it's very important to have those outlines in our mind, so then it becomes a bit easier for us to do meditation on a particular topic. So then also, that we try to bring the teachings we have received from our teachers or the lamas. What have they said about this particular point, a key point or the sub point? Okay, what kind of scriptural quotations are they quoted to substantiate these points? What are the reasonings, supporting reasons they have provided, with regard to these particular outlines? What are kind of stories they have told us, to illustrate a particular concept or a particular point. So in that way, when we're able to bring together what the Lama has taught, even the stories told to illustrate points, and the reasonings been provided, and the scriptural authority that has been quoted here, provided here, and maybe some of the what we call the pith instructions, meaning that things which are not clearly stated in the text, but based upon the personal experience and so forth, they give you certain what we call mena, which means pith instructions, and so we should be able to bring all of those together as we do meditation, on Lam Rim.
That's Saki Mapper. And they're going to come soon to say any Nyempata, Chunian and Tashi, and the Gomna, and the Caresa Gila Pinto, and the Cavores. sake meper kan shunjun du se ne nyen king se che nyen ba ina ta sake le ma te ba she nyen ba ta nyen king gom na se ta gom di se le she ba ina sake ma te ba she gom ba ina kan shunjun shi gom ba ina ji la pen top de ne kira kapo res.
So what happens if we don't follow the outlines, or we don't have outlines, Lam Rim outlines in our mind? Okay, whether we listen to teachings or we do meditation. So we just kind of go whatever happens, any more, right? This is what I remember, I'll go with it, and then, well, this is what I remember. It's kind of a random here, right? I remember this, I'll think about it, I remember that. Or, well, we mix hodgepodge here, okay, this is all the things coming to my mind here. So what happens if we go like that, And so here in the text it said that if we do like that kind of a random thing in our meditation and listening to teaching without the Lam Rim outlines, then it would be really difficult for us to cultivate, the paths in our mind. It would be really hard for us to get real benefit into our mind. To be able to get the real benefit in the mind, that would be rather difficult.
Toba kawa pernas pena chata mardan chata pidota chata mardan pidota ade consition na tare chabi so ne social mappers kala kin lu ne se ne jo jin se ya jan de ya mo se di ta ne ka ga do se ne ko zan na so du ye je ro ba de long se ba ina te thong la ji chag mar ba ta tin na chag res.
And the example given here is, of course, a very Tibetan example. If we mix all the things together, then what happens? So this is like, in order to make a Tibetan tea, which is the butter salt tea, milk tea. So if you put all the things in one container, right, you put the butter and then you put the salt on that, you put the milk into that, or whatever, all the things, right? So everything's mixed for easy things. So next time you're going to make a Tibetan tea, you just kind of use that, then you're going to ruin the tea. It's not going to come out right. So it will be like that. If we put all different things, mixed together in a container, then, next time when we want to make something, it's not going to come out right.
They answer that. Lam Rim Teachings the Sakye so Mayans. That Lam Rim Chewa Tang, and the Lam Rim Chung, the Zuga, the Sakye Mambo Chiraris. That learning with this couple of us.
So talking about Lam Rim outlines, of course, there are kind of many Lam Rim outlines relating to a short version of the Lam Rim or the extensive version of the Lam Rim.
That rang gang thing ni tope saki jersin song go seta. That Lam Rim Chembo dan chung tani majone. The society that Lam Rim the Saki Yuji to that Lam Yangun of Tony. Saki Yuji Tony, and the Ransan never seen D Tony any gummed in the Yamoyaris.
So, we find Lam Rim outlines with regard to the short version Lam Rim, with regard to the long version Lam Rim, and so on. So maybe sometimes outlines themselves are very extensive and very hard to remember everything. Okay, so what do we do? And here it is said that, maybe we should try to find a reasonable if you like, a version of Lam Rim outlines, maybe based upon Lam Rim Nyamgur, the experiential Lam Rim, something like that. So that you have all the essential points, but you are really not bogged down by, if you will, too many points here and there, too many, too much details into outlines.
Say Pong Gaba Lam Rim the Nandula Chang Kapsu, don't do Nangin Sundo. Dalam, Dakis, Shaggy, Lama Rumbuchi, Shaggy, Nulam Sorzons. That Shaggy Pong Gaba Lama Dere, Double Lama Rumbuchi. Double Lama Rumbuchi, so that Kong any Saki, Karaka Saki, Hizungursana, Lam Rim, Nulam material, well, Nulam Gani, Nulam material, Saki the Hizuni. Nangu Chacha, the Naya Dance, Yulam Matika Saki Yezuni, Nangu Ispan.
And here the great author Gyabje Pabungwa Dorjee tells us that the way he is going to teach or present this Lam Rim called Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand is based upon the outline that his teacher used, in this case meaning Tapo Lama Rinpoche, one of his teachers, and his teacher used a particular Lam Rim called Lam Rim Nyulam Marti. Nyulam literally means quick path. Marti literally means naked explanation. It's maybe cut to the chase. Kind of explanation. And so his teacher, Tapo Lama Rinpoche, followed that particular Lam Rim called quick path, cut through, explanation, outline, and that's how he was going to do this Lam Rim.
That thing is Nyolam Matik, Saki the Tandang as a behavior. There's a thing any thing where Shaki Ponga, Konga Lam Rim, the Magu Kola, Matik the Balta, Lozon, some Mamado. Mato the Sakid Madua. That London, there's a Tabalama Bachela, Jabel Jason, and he had Huni till Sakid my Yatola. Kurt was in the Huni years, thank you.
I think when Tapo Lama Rinpoche gave the Lam Rim teaching, the outlines were not really written down. Outlines were in his mind or maybe in the minds of some other people. And also maybe during the time of Pabong Dorjee's Lam Rim teaching, the outlines were really not written down. But then another master by the name of Jambel Hundru Gyaltsen requested that it would really be very beneficial to write down those outlines, for posterity and so forth, and then thus the outlines are written down. Now today we could get the quick path, cut through explanation Lam Rim outlines, outlines in print.
That's the Saki the Samar.
So Geshe says that he doesn't think that such outlines are provided in English. If any of you know, you could correct us. And so if not, it would be nice if somebody does that.
Show me the don't see it.
There are about 20 some pages, probably Tibetan page numbers, folios.
Oh, that thing.
Really?
Do it.
Yeah. So Geshe says if it is available, then that's great news. So if we could get ourselves familiarized with those outlines and then follow them, that would be very nice.
That thing, Saki the Loli, that's Saki the tone they said they soon get someone of that Saki from Leon.
No. So if one were to have those outlines in one's mind, then it will be really easy to follow the Lam Rim teaching, because all this Lam Rim is presented, based upon those outlines.
Yanking in a Saki the Lord in the Ago, yanking in the gum janking in a Saki the Lurginata, Saki Dean and the nature they take gum, do the Shingy things with the Takari and Tanjung Yako, some of those years also, Kilina were that is basically each Toliana to Tag.
So if both teachers and students have such outlines in their mind, then it will be easy to teach and easy to follow the teachings and easy to meditate upon, And if such outlines available in English and other languages, Geshe advises that it would be, very good to have them and follow them.
Well, starting the then do any mengators, the major Sakin day, no you cover match. Koi Niente just so super dance, so the Lamaruchi, get the Chinese, young soul, my Bashania, who couldn't get the Achani, any Sakiti, soon I want to be a fusion. Jabba can be so good, dignity, Yigikup and Digi, Gidi something, Gidi somebody else can.
No, so this Tibetan master by the name of Jambel Hundru Gyaltsen, he tells us that he requested.
Requesting the Shai Hong Kong.
No. He mal tingin the Jambel Hundru Gyaltsen go.
Or that Jambel Hundru Gyaltsen Shai Hong Kong again.
The great Gyaltsen Paboka Rinpoche requested Jambel Hundru Gyaltsen, who was his teacher, and he requested, in publicly and personally, he just approached his teacher, personally said, it would be very kind of you if you could, give the permission to write down the outlines, and that's how he was able to get the outlines, in written form.
Today, you get all your no. Toronto, you get the ration and cake. My cake is any. Toronto told rolling how English.
So if that outline is available in English, please bring it here, and you can follow them, and it will be easier. As Geshe explains things, you find it easy to follow.
You have it?
An outline of the text in the back of this book, the back of Liberation. It has the topics. Is that what you mean? Just the topics?
Well, Geshe says, topics and outlines are not necessarily the same. What do you mean?
The topics are that not topic calling into course of them.
I think probably you're asking a question that Geshe cannot answer, because in English maybe there is some kind of outlines printed with that thing, and Geshe is not using it, so he has no idea which one is that. Because such a but Inji should get Lam Rim should there. Now, is that the same outlines as Anala you were thinking about? No. Oh, really? What
is going there?
But whose outline is that?
It's the outline of this whole book, it seems to be. The preliminaries.
Oh, there's no.
Statutory rights.
Now, is this like a traditional outline, or the translator of this text made an outline based on the Lam Rim? What is it? Well, somebody has.
It says
outline of the text.
The headings that are printed in the text.
No, Sajje in the outline. Could you say outlines in the
Sajje. Mali this Sajje is racist again. Sajje the Nulamati is Sajje I in a number of Sajje is teachers.
Oh yeah. And then you check this one. Okay.
Yeah. Because if it says it is the outline of the liberation in the palm of your hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
Does it say that?
Okay.
Of the text.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that's yeah.
Oh yeah. That's good.
In a did Nulamati the Chico in Marogan,
Didn't 93 years.
Didn't the suggestion.
But Nulamati Saki 93 years.
I don't know.
That's around the Abutation.
No. Well, if the Geshe says, because Geshe Papango taught this Lam Rim based upon the outlines of Nulam Mati, quick that cut through explanation Lam Rim, so maybe those outlines are probable with that. If so if that's the case, you should follow those outlines. Well, if I ask you, which outline we are talking about now, so you should be able to answer back. This is it. Whatever that.
I don't think it has main headings. It's going by the days.
Oh, I see. Then you might have some Jewish no. No. So if it has the kind of outlines, like for example, we gave one of the examples about meditation impermanence, right? It has 3 key points or the root principles and the 9 reasons. That kind of outline is there. Then
that's what we need.
Follow them. That's the kind of outlines we need. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Teaching the Tambo Shigina, Tanjanyaka, and Chomata, and then so good doing it. This is my Yorwata.
No.
Take a Sakike Marwa.
No, sir. Yeah, they could be like a topic presentation, right? For example, like first we talk about a precious human life, and then impermanence, and then the suffering of the bad micro. But those are not what we really call a Sajje here outline that we are using it. Those are like topics presented.
Divisions.
Yes.
Divisions, subdivisions. That's kind of this there.
Yes. Heading.
Yeah.
And section heading.
Okay.
Or subheading.
Okay. That's good. Now.
Okay, so if that's seems like topics and outlines together or something, you could follow them, just follow them.
That and then they will entrance my us.
Okay, so Geshe is going to follow his text, and maybe then we'll find there is a meeting ground, right? Maybe that's what exactly it is,
Well, for instance, this text starts with the greatness of the authors. This outline only starts right now with the
same.
Where we're at.
That's all. Yeah, that's all.
It doesn't have. Right. I think that will come. Yeah. Okay, so let me go through the text. So when we do meditation, there are different ways to emphasize, certain points of experiences, In terms of presentation, if you like, we talk about the two, the major styles of presentation. One is that of Nalanda style presentation, according to the Nalanda masters of the scholars, and other is the style of Vikramshila Monastic University scholars.
Nalanda the second song they young the Nalanda Kebazo Dang, Christian Sumiores, Nalanda Kebazo Sigina, Florence and not tapas, King the Florence and not tapas, Flome G tapas, Homak G tapas, Kiji Che tapas, Tapasum,
Okay, so now maybe perhaps you could check what outlines you have here. According to Nalanda master scholars' style of presentation, they talk about three points here. One is they say the first key thing is that I'm literally translating here. It may be translated differently, but we should be able to follow that. Come to the same point. It's the pure speech of the masters. So what does it say there?
That's not the one in the book.
Okay. So it's according to the Nalanda style, there are three things they emphasize: the pure speech of the teacher or the master. And excuse me again, I haven't finished the.
It says this book is following the second tradition by Vikramshila.
Oh, it says, Vikramshila kasa Okay, so as I was explaining to you, there are two different styles of presentation, and the one right now I'm saying is the Nalanda style of presentation. It emphasizes three key points. The first one is the pure speech of the teacher, literally translating here. Of course, when Geshe explains it, then we will have better understanding, right? So don't make me teach here. I'm just translating. And you may find a little difficult, just have to be patient. And the second point is the pure mind of disciples or students. Okay? And the third point is pure teaching. So they talk about three purities, if you will. So what is involved in the pure speech of master or the teacher is that the teacher who teaches should have pure motivation, okay, and should teach correctly. Should not, mess up in the teachings. And what is involved in the pure mind of students or disciples is, of course, disciples or students should have pure motivation, which means their motivation should not have anything to do with 8 worldly concerns or attitudes, 8 worldly dharmas, as we talk about. And also, there's more to that, that they should be unbiased the way they approach or listen to teaching. Lo Suvarnava means unbiased. And they should be intelligent to be able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. and really enthusiastic or enthusiastically interested in the teaching, right? So not to be lazy, as Geshe said it.
So that
so pure speech of teachers includes pure motivation of the teacher, and the teacher should teach it authentically, not mix up the stuff in the teachings. And pure mind of disciples or students include pure motivation of disciples, and that the disciples should be unbiased in their attitude or approach. They should be intelligent to be able to differentiate between what's right and wrong, and they should be enthusiastically interested in the teaching. Now, additionally, the teaching also has to be pure. So we talk about pure teaching also. So also included in the pure mind of disciples includes, remember that how we need to be free from the three, what is called, metaphorically called, the three folds of a container, right? My first footnote, not to be like the upside down pot and so on, right? And have the 6 types of what we call recognitions.
That the nature good is that the Nalanda Kevasu.
So according to the Nalanda Buddhist masters, their style of presentation emphasizes those 3 purities. Pure speech of teacher, pure mind of disciples, and pure teaching. So according to Vikramshila Buddhist masters and their style of presentation, they emphasize different points. They would talk about the qualifications of the author, and the features or the characteristics of teaching. And then the third point is how to teach and listen to the teaching, which is characterized by the first 2 points. Okay? So it means the qualifications of an author and the characteristics or the qualities of the teaching itself. So what is included in the qualifications or the qualities of authors, it has to be read authors, like a plural sense. It's impossible this time. So one needs to start with the qualities of Shakyamuni Buddha, right, the founding teacher, and then the qualities of lineage masters, through whom the teaching has been transmitted or passed down to us. So all the way to one's what we call the root guru, right? From Shakyamuni Buddha down to one's root guru, you see, one has to talk about the qualities of all these masters. So in this Lam Rim, the way this particular point, the qualities of others have been approached is, it first talks about the qualities of great Adisha, because Adisha was the first author of Lam Rim, right? What Adisha did was he brought together the essential points of Buddha's teachings from sutras and tantras, and he, if you will, wrote the first Lam Rim text. So we first talk about the qualities of Adisha. And then the qualities of the teaching itself means that we talk about what are the unique features or the characteristics of the Lam Rim itself, the Lam Rim teaching itself.
That any that my can younger Chawagidin, Chawagit,
No. So when we talk about the unique features or the characteristics of the Lam Rim, we talk about 4 different features. Although those things will come later on.
That day, Getaran he can name sul some did that. Tell any tree, some of big Chawasi, Church Chawasi, and then he get us to thank him at the Boris.
And then the third point is how to teach and how to listen to the Lam Rim teaching with those qualities. Right now, this should be more in common with, as we were talking about, what are the qualities our teacher should have and what are the qualities that a disciple or student should have, and so on.
That Danda needs in Nani, Danda Nanding and Zuki at the and then become like a Lucian, Lucian Canavers for others.
So, as one of you said, read there, that of these 2, styles of presentation, Nalanda style of presentation of teaching and Vikramshila's style of presentation of teaching, in this case, the author says he's going to follow the Vikramshila style of presentation.
That's Saki to that's Saki years.
Now I think we are going to begin with outlines or sajja in Tibetan, and there are 4 key points or 4 major outlines.
Oh yeah, that's Saki give a thin and time. This is kind of videos.
So those 4 key points we call sajja outlines that would include all other points.
And they came in this. So this
the thick Lam Rim book is actually captured. It's presented in under 4 key points. So if these outlines or the key points are in the your Lam Rim translation text, you should follow them. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That Tambu the Garson, Church Kung Zimmer, they be certain Zababi Chawas. On the Zababi Chawa gave a Carlesena, Church Kung the Zim, Zubatan Yantaba Himbaki, Tango.
So the first key point, major outline is, explaining the qualities of authors in order to indicate authenticity of the teaching itself. So how is it translated? Can somebody read it back to me?
Yeah, would you like to read it?
So that people know which one, because I might translate it differently.
The greatness of the authors given to show that teaching has an immaculate source.
Good. Okay.
What is immaculate source?
Immaculate city kan again. That is sang ma so okay.
Okay.
Clean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I said clean.
So it's the authenticity of the teaching we're talking about. Okay.
I think you are.
So in your translation it says the greatness of the authors given to show the teaching has an immaculate source. As I translated, in order to show the authenticity of the teaching, that means teaching is not the BS, it's authentic. So we talk about the great qualities of authors. And then we talk about about the qualities of the teaching itself in order to develop respect for the teaching. That's the second main point or the key point.
I think
that's so developing respect and faith in the teaching is very important. In order for us to really receive the blessings of the Buddha's teaching, So we need to cultivate respect for the teaching and to have faith in the teaching.
저랑서 대망보 로요를 제가 시제가 대 로바 나기 된 자구야 말세서 니네 엠베 아니 소소에니 그 동해 당 아니 아다 녀모바다 동해 자와 녀모바다 전쪽 때니 해와시베 대 탑담하기 송자 그 협시하고 그랬어 인다 대비 인다 로바던 자구 말이야.
I know you read a lot of books, people in the West like to read, which is good, but we cannot bring the same kind of attitude here, reading novels or reading some kind of Western literatures here. So, because the thing is that the kind of teaching we are dealing with is, the method with which we can uproot the very source of the suffering that we don't want. Okay, so we're dealing with spirituality and the method with which we can cut off the very root of the suffering and get it to suffering for good. So we cannot adopt the same attitude as reading literature books or or any regular books we read.
잠비는 강가 롬보진 나 dwi시 강강네 직대빈 랑대빈나 디다랑레 당가치기 땡킹이 그러시는 당가치기 라바테 그케여레스 그케여셔고레스.
So if somewhere were to give us these two choices, would you rather have the whole world filled with all kinds of precious jewels and gems, or you would have few words of precious Dharma teaching? So we should really choose this latter, have respect in few words of precious teachings rather than a world filled with stones. He didn't say stones, but
When
we look at the life stories of Shakyamuni Buddha, in many of his previous lifetimes, he sacrificed even his own lives, his body, his flesh and bones, for the sake of receiving a short teaching, a few words of teaching or few stanzas of teaching. So I think I would like to tell you a story here. Long time ago, there was a king by the name of Kangda, and he was used to eating human flesh. But he had a reason why he relished the human flesh. So the king Kangda, he cultivated a Brahmin, a priest, as his teacher. And of course, the chef in the palace kitchen, needed to cook every day for the king, right? So the king must be a big meat eater. So he was always making a lot of meat dishes. But one day he couldn't find meat, at all. So then the cook, what he did was he just went and, somehow he found, he brought a piece of flesh from a dead boy, and he just cooked it for the king.
That translated anything. and that Jebu, to Michelle Rex to buy you want house. Never corner, take the around pay Michelle each other.
So when the chef cooked that human flesh for the king, and then it was also offered to the Brahmin. Okay, so Brahmin got really upset, that he was offered meat and here the human flesh, And so the Brahmins, are very famously known for what we call invoking the power of truth. They will say that by the power of the truth, so and so things happen to you. What's the things it could happen? That was the belief, right? So here the Brahmin got so mad with the meat, and he said, by the power of invoking the truth, you always eat, human flesh. That's what I will call upon, right? The power of the truth, and that's how this king become a human flesh eater.
And then Jabuti Nimaki Karasel to share that can say. Jabutan Mashisang Chasson.
No.
Since any me Nania could Jabu say it and the same with the Tanzupe kidney. That could have son is a
So because of that kind of Brahman's wish, this king Kanta became a human flesh eater, and he became very fond of it. He liked it very much, especially the human flesh of the higher caste, if you will, the prince and princess. He would just love to eat them.
So that things that you might really that contains a recamato, Jebu Jeshi Zon de Guamata, the Simbu Ranch, Simbu Chadir, Simbu Chane, that ring of the Nake and David Center. But you might just in the way, just in the Watson, that Jebu to say you, Jabu, nobody Jebushi, just in the Watson day. And call the that conquest on it.
No,
good.
No. So this king Kanta later became so fond of eating human flesh that he became a cannibal, and he basically had to live in the wilderness, because he needed to hunt, for humans to eat. And so one day he caught this other, prince by the name of GSTDL, Chandra, by the name of Chandra or Moon.
So that ya case science and that Jebutin to say that some of the Mambuji Sash in the Korea case that Koran no synthesis, Sabator, that can be Mishoim. The church of done, can the Koran Michitan, that Churamiton Karins, love. So then Churanga Dragman was. Making dining like you was Dragman was, in a Churamiton Karins. Any translated church hubbing, church hubbings, the year pigeon measures. I think that's some questions. Which I did is.
So the king Kanta brought this prince Chandra with him, and then the prince saw that there were other prince and princess, kind of stored up there to be eaten, right? So he got the whole collection there. And so he felt really kind of sad, and the prince Chandra had these tears rolling down his cheek, but he wasn't really afraid at all of this cannibalistic king. And then the king asked him, "You are really strange. Everybody else is so scared of me, but you're really not afraid. But why do you shed tears? What's the reason?" And then the Prince Chandra said, I didn't have an opportunity to make an offering to my teacher, a Brahmin, for giving me some short teachings, So that's why I lost I didn't have the opportunity. And so that's why I feel sad.
And then Jabu, Simple that they simple contract. And Chiraman donate you want to preach any iron and take it.
Yes.
Until love. The chamber.
So then the cannibalistic king said, that's no big deal. I'll let you go do that. Just go and, come back. Just go and make your offering to your teacher and come back. That's all right.
Quran Sanata, Komayuna, Kashin, the lane to somewhere.
Because the king was thinking that, he couldn't escape from me, where can he go else? So I'll let him go and I'll catch him, if he's trying to escape.
I said, my don't learn any Satan, Koran Tansi, you want to put, church to geek if you want to put, and the Yayun, the Koragabo, and say, give what she said, Segurata.
So the Prince Chandra was able to go back and make the offering or the gift offering to his teacher, Brahman, and then he came back very happily. He returned to the king.
That Koran. Some the and the contract some that then any cancer that Me can get down and burn up position of bird of the correct bird. Then ya cousin ya Yungi said, now ya lady, Karina some quarter.
So the king was kind of rather surprised by this prince coming back. He thought, well, everybody else will take the chance to run away. What the hell is this doing? He just came back. So it's kind of strange. And, he was kind of a little like, he had this, sense of wonder. Why is this? He's coming back to me.
Ladies and Tanga dress. That's not so select.
So the prince said, no, now I'm just, very happy, and I got to do what I needed to do, the last thing, and now you can just eat me out, happily. That's fine with me. Okay. So the king said, don't rush me, I'm going to eat you slowly and, happily.
Translator then check where and it get it with that. Chora and the Kate of Shibuji might change and the young people shake with it. Chora and you did a carry on this. Not a question.
So the king, was surprised that the Prince Chandra came back, and then he wanted to ask him, why did you really go back to make an offering to that teacher? What kind of things did you learn from him? Could you tell me that? Why was that so important that you were so unhappy because you couldn't make an offering to your teacher for whatever teaching you got? So what did you really learn from him? Could you tell me? So the Prince Chandra said, forget it. You are a cannibalistic, evil, being, and you do not deserve, to share my teaching. And so forget it. I'm not going to do that. No. Because in order to teach you, you see, the thing you have to do is the one who is making the request here need to set a proper seat for the teacher. Then you have to really respectfully listen to. You are not going to do that. You don't have any respect to me, and so forget that. We cannot do this one. So, for some, reason that kind of a conversation between them, sparked or activated some good karma in this the king's mind. And somehow the king, became kind of very subdued, and, he just, took off some of his blood-stained, clothes and put it more like a cushion there, sit, and then he asked him to sit on that and then give him, share his teaching. So actually, it was around that time, I think, when the king's, priest Brahman, he invoked the power of the truth and, cursed him, right? Maybe that's the only way to say. He said, for the next 12 years, you will be eating nothing but human flesh, That's what I demand, by the power of the truth. And that's what happened. But around that time, when he met the Prince Chandra, he almost finished the 12 years, So that's why some good karma in the king got activated. And so he was able to listen for the first time some teaching from Prince Chandra. So the point of this whole story is, as we listen to teaching, we should do so, respectfully, because the holy teaching, the precious teaching, deserves our respect. Our historical teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, when he gave a teaching on wisdom gone beyond, or perfection of wisdom on the Vulture's Peak, Kuti in India, he set a throne for himself or seat for himself, in order to do that. To respect his teaching, he kind of raised a seat for himself, and then he gave the Pranjanaparamita teaching. So when we attend teachings, so we always have our teachers on a higher seat than us at least. We are taking the lower position to indicate our respect for the teacher and the teaching. I think that story I told you about the cannibalistic king Kangda is in the great Lam Rim text. So now the great Lam Rim Ulama Tsongkhapa is out in English, so you could refer to that. And then the third key point, now I lost my pages here, and I was trying to find an easy way to look at the outlines. Boy.
What is yours?
Okay, so I will say something. Somebody who's following it, probably you can read what is in that so people can follow you. The third key point is how to teach and listen to the teaching, Lam Rim teaching, that is characterized by the preceding two qualities. In other words, the qualities of the authors of the Lam Rim and the qualities of the teaching itself. Okay, so what do you have there? Same, okay.
Same, okay. Damba ngwe jo lama chide television basta. Damba ngwe chise ta ngwe toni danga ngwe ke ani lama sanji sala chide television basta ke kana.
And then the fourth key or the main point is how to actually guide the students into the teaching or the path that leads to complete enlightened state. So those are the four, what we call the key outlines or the major points of Lam Rim.
That's Saki Yendo was under the Saki Yendo was. Saki Yabunde, Lana Chim Saki is. Lana Chimon Saki the others.
So those four key points or the key major outlines are taken from Jerambuche or Lama Tsongkhapa's great Lam Rim text.
Delam to Yulam said that. One Delam to Yulam Yerva, then under the Lamri Gilani, Gidita, Ani Mata Mato Ye, then the Yunguaris.
And so, when we look at other Lam Rims, such as the Lam Rim called the convenient path, Telam, our Lam Rim called the quick path, Nyulam, they may have different versions of the outlines. Maybe some are more elaborate and some are more condensed, but pretty much they adapted, I should say, these outlines and and then adapted in a more sort of extensive or a short form.
Yeah, Lam Rim just sunche conducting in a tanding about the you think about the goal Jagu.
Yes. So whenever a Lam Rim teaching begins or begins right in the upfront, a teacher would lay out these four key points of the Lam Rim, the four major outlines of the Lam Rim, we just dealt with.
Tang gone was then Saki and Gon Sonsa, Toronto Saki to the Lord Zeki, Ali, Jari Saki Hind was that the to the Lord Zeki, not to get garden, so you understand you say, if you love your shapes.
So now we have we're at the beginning of the Lam Rim here, and so I would advise you to memorize these major outlines in your mind in my absence, because I'm going to go to Colorado to teach for Sunday weekend, right? So when I come back, I would like to have all these four major outlines at least memorized, in should be on top of your mind. Presenting the qualities of authors in order to show the authenticity of the teaching. One, right? Presenting the qualities of the teaching itself in order to cultivate respect for the teaching. How to teach and listen to the teaching that is characterized by the first two sets of the qualities. And how to actually guide the students into the teaching. So those are the four, root or the key Lam Rim outlines. Yes. And so in order to develop respect for the authors, we will first talk about the qualities of the authors. So in the authors, first, as I mentioned before, that we will be talking a little bit about the qualities of great Atisha. So when we talk about qualities of great Adisha, so we will classify that into two subpoints, qualities of Adisha while he was in India and the qualities of Adisha when he was in Tibet. So we will have some of the points, and so we will follow the outlines, that way. Yes. So at the minimum, at least, I think everybody should have those key or the major outlines of Lam Rim in our minds. Yes. So as we go through the Lam Rim and explain different points, I'm going to often refer back to the main points.
Yes.
So we will stop there today, and this evening has been easy for me because the translator is in town.
Okay.
So we should always keep in our mind or remind ourselves that our purpose of listening to teaching is to be able to understand what the teaching is, and the purpose of that is to put it into practice, to meditate on it. Yes. And there are different, ways to explain things. We talked about four of them. I mean, do you remember that there is what we call sheti, which literally means explanatory presentation. So or explication, it could be just sheti. And then there's a zupti, which literally means kind of finger pointing way of presentation. So you're literally led by the fingers. And then there is the explanation based upon experiences, both teacher and students. They try to reflect on the teachings and get certain experiences. So that's more like what we call experiential explanation or nyomti.
That nyomti, nyomti said, my teen, that's it. Sagik ton my teen. They nyoma myself as the nyoma myself as a gomney. They you person and they you went to Martin, those things, cover that, cover.
So there is the nyamti, which means the explanation based on the experiences. Then there is the nyongti, which means that the way teacher would do is will explain a little bit, and then we'll have students reflect on it until they gain certain experience in that particular teaching, right? And then we'll move on to the next one, explain that, and then meditate on that and gain certain experience in that. So that's another way of doing explanation. So Nyongti means that not only the teacher's intention is to give you the understanding of the teaching, but also give you certain experiences into the teachings, right? So teacher would teach certain thing and then pause and then maybe have you reflect on that, gain certain experience, and then explain the next one and, go on like that.
And they show Puman is 20 shower and it's in the river. You didn't come to the game because what the king thinking the don't do you.
So we will stop there this evening and let's dedicate our marriage for the flourishing of Dharma throughout the universe, for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other great masters. May they live long and be successful in fulfilling their visions, benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May these and other world environments be free of unwanted pains and problems, and beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality. In short, we dedicate our marriage for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all reach complete enlightened state quickly. So we can save our prostrations for Geshe-la's safe return.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I will see you next Wednesday.
Geshe-la will be back on Monday, so he says see you next Wednesday.
The project will be so today. So,
Pasai.
He conclusion. Unless he has, but he conclusion here. So, reading, no, Tibetan.
Tibetan and English. Maybe Lam Rim.
Okay, good. So, anyways, Anila will see. The teaching, Sunday teaching, I am here. So, okay. Good. Nice and really.
Thank you.
That's good.